Hi everyone, my name is Madison. I'm the marketing exec at the Business Software Center, and today I have one of our partner companies, Exertis here, Jay from Exertis, who's going to explain to us how distribution partners add value for Microsoft 365 partners and their customers. So Jay, can you just introduce yourself and maybe explain a little bit of who you are and what Exertis is?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Madison. My name's Jay Haszczyn, so I'm the Partner Relation and Operations Manager at Exertis Cloud. So sort of my roles and responsibilities really sort of fall along the lines of ensuring our partners are well looked after, making sure our sort of platforms and our ordering processes are as they should be and working correctly, which obviously coincides with some changes that Microsoft are making recently. But very much that's my role sort of there. Sort of Exertis Cloud really have been going for about 18 months, so a little late to the CSP party. However, what that's sort of enabled us to do is look at what everyone's doing really well and what everyone's not doing so great at, and trying to fine tune it. And you know, we've grown massively really from where we launched 18 months ago. So bringing on new partners that having a bit more of a fresh take on the CSP relationship as opposed to sort of just a standard transactional relationship, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say that the switch to the cloud has definitely helped a lot of our partners grow their cloud businesses. But as far as Exertis being like a distribution partner, I would imagine that you guys have some best practices in place. Like you take the time to invest in your partner relationships, which I think is a huge benefit. You do collaborations like webinars, and here you are on the Smarter Cloud Talk podcast. Yeah. But you also do things that help both you and your partner serve the customer. And I would say one of the biggest things is obviously keeping up with the changes. So you mentioned about the cloud service provider, the CSP model. And now we're switching to the Microsoft new commerce experience. How have you been able to keep up with the changes with the NCE?
Keeping up with the changes has been no easy task. Microsoft have been, I think first announced really in terms of the Microsoft 365 piece back in August of last year. So August 2021, they announced that they were going to make these changes to Microsoft 365, etc. But new commerce has actually been spoken about and actually been sort of happening since 2019. Sort of Azure subscriptions were involved in the new commerce experience, as well as software subscriptions and reserved instances. I think last year there was a big focus early last year of perpetual licensing now being purchased through CSP via the new commerce experience. So these changes have we've been able to keep up to date thanks, primarily to Microsoft announcements, but it's been coming for quite a while. So we've been able to at least semi-prepare for some of the announcements, although they do sort of mic drop announcements when they want Microsoft. So we do have to be quite reactive. But as long as we stay on the ball and keep our partners updated, with the best information possible, I think that helps.
I mean, I think it does too, just because things can get lost in translation sometimes with Microsoft posting and multiple platforms. Things can get confusing. So what systems do you have in place to communicate with your partners effectively? I know that you guys do have the partner program and stuff like that, but do you send out emails or do you do webinars? What do you do to kind of educate your partners on what's going on with the NCE?
So we try and keep it as we sometimes have to be reactive with the information. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to immediately see a Microsoft post and then just regurgitate that information. But what we like to do is take that information from Microsoft, really digest it, and then release that information out to our partners in a way that our partners understand, because Microsoft sometimes requires some translation. So what we do once we've got that information, email is obviously an easy way of corresponding, but who's to tell that that email's been read. We pick up the phone to our partners. We have dedicated account managers to all of our partners, Exertis. So we pick up the phone and we speak to our partners to make sure they understand the changes. And that's not just like our biggest partners, that's all of them. So it's absolutely vital that they all know the changes, because it's going to affect them all in different ways. Mm-hmm. And also, I think another key is webinars. You've mentioned it there. We've done numerous webinars on the matter, and they'll cover anything from the basics and information that your partners need to know and their customers need to know. but also it's some of the sort of more intricacies. So, is the ordering process going to change on our platform? So there's certain other little bits that go around there. And obviously social media platform is great. So you can just post it there, and any new updates, you can try and direct traffic from social media. So there's numerous ways that we've been going at it. It's obviously very difficult to cover large quantities of information in some of those little, sort of little bits. But I think, with the wide net we cast in terms of emails, webinars, social media posts, I think we get the information to our partners.
I mean, I definitely see a lot of stuff with LinkedIn, and I think that's been, as far as me using LinkedIn frequently, it's been really effective. But I have a question about like your communication strategies. So you're able to provide this information, in my opinion, in a very effective way. But, have you noticed with this communication, any partners or customers coming to you and just saying, these are the changes that are happening and this is how it's impacting my business? Have you heard any complaints? Have you heard any business impact stuff?
100%. Yeah, we absolutely hear that. Some of the changes that are happening require customer commitments, which to our partners can be quite a scary term. They didn't sign up to be offering contracts out to customers. They signed up for a pretty much flexible model where a customer can buy something and cancel it the next day if they need to. Whereas Microsoft's new changes, incur commitments. And to some partners, especially the smaller ones, it can have a massive impact on them because they're not prepared to necessarily take what would be a credit risk all of a sudden on a product such as Microsoft 365. So it's trying to understand their situation as a business. We work with our partners, like I said, dedicated account managers, so we can work one-on-one with them to understand their situation and understand their capabilities. And then from there, we can work with them to sort of navigate through NCE as seamlessly as possible, despite it being quite a big change. But yeah, it's a sort of a catered situation, per partner. This isn't you're not going to have a one size fits all solution for this. So, I think where our sort of tax comes in is we don't, it's not just blanket emails and webinars, it is those one-to-one phone calls with our partners to make sure that, what they're doing or what they can do can have the least impact on them. Some of our partners are having to give customers up because they just can't take the credit risk, which is slightly alarming. So we're trying to assist them, and try and find ways to assist them through that.
I think it's vital to have those one-on-one conversations because you are right. Each business has their own goals, their own needs, and it's pretty important to kind of figure out where they're at, where they want to go. And so not only is communication important, but I think, help easing the change by like software tracking tools might be beneficial. So, what products does Exertis have to kind of help with software asset management?
So something we use is a product called Smarter SaaS, which effectively is like you said, a monitoring tool. Allows us to sort of monitor at a tenancy level. So we can monitor one of our partners' customers, check their Microsoft 365 to see how they're using the product. A lot of partners, not necessarily with us, but across the board, will just have a transactional relationship with their customers. So a customer might come up to them and say, "Oh, can I have 10 business standard, for instance?" And the managed service provider will say, "Yeah, no problem. Here's 10 business standard," and off you go. With NCE, that becomes more of a commitment based transaction. So because of that, when I buy a business standard now, it might come with that year or 3-year commitment. And if that's the case, I need to make sure that that product is the right product. And what Smarter SaaS allows us to see is it actually allows us to see how those individual licenses are being used. So if I have business standard, are the users downloading the applications, for instance, which is a feature of business standard? Are they using, their OneDrive allocation? Are they using things like Teams? And there's sort of a two-pronged attack with Smart SaaS, because what it allows you to do is one, reduce licensing. So you can say to that customer, look, you have all these business standards, but your users aren't using them, as you can see here in complete transparency. So, all of a sudden they realize, okay, maybe I can save a bit of money here and my commitment's not as arduous. Whereas the other attack is, of course, I'm not using the full utility of the product. So as a partner, that might allow you to go away to the customer and say, look, listen, you're buying these amazing business standard licenses, which are full of features, but you're not using all the features. Where can we assist you in a sort of maybe a training aid, or, it might be chargeable training on Teams or something along those lines. How can we help you use this product more and get more out of this commitment product you're now buying? So Smart SaaS is great, and I think what we offer it free. So we offer a free health check to all of our partners for their tenancies, so they can see the product using it. They can see the product being used, and get a good idea of sort of how their customer's tenancy actually looks, as opposed to just logging on to Microsoft's 365 Admin Center and seeing where licenses are allocated, for instance.
Right. I think it does give a deeper dive than just simply logging on to Microsoft and seeing who's using it, who's not using it, because it does give your partners the opportunity to do the value adds and offer a managed service and do the consultancy part, where it's like, okay, we can sit down, analyze the data for you, and kind of help you decide whether you need to, reharvest your licenses, something like that. And I think, you touched on the NCE kind of not really being totally flexible on the contract. And this would be like a good opportunity to benchmark where you're at now with the Smarter SaaS product, because, you can't really true down or like flex your subscribers down whenever you're locked into these contracts. So seeing where you're at now, analyzing the usage, figuring out why I'm not using certain things, all of this can be done with you and with Smarter SaaS, which is like really excellent to the partners.
Absolutely. I think right now we want to work with our partners in a way that avoids dissatisfaction. In my view, I think that if I fully commit, if I'm a customer and I commit 20 licenses to a particular partner, I'm going to have an issue. If I find out halfway down the line that I didn't need those licenses, but now I'm tied in, I've got a big problem, and that's just going to further exacerbate dissatisfaction. We're going to have a big issue there. So it's vitally important. And look, at the end of that contract, when that does run out, that customer is going to go and find another managed service provider. They're not going to stay with you because you've effectively not given them transparency and you've not been clear. So working with our partners, we're ensuring that we try to find out as much about the customer's tenancy as possible, so that they know, and it's vital that the customer knows, the licenses they're buying, they're using, and that they need. Because the last thing we want is heightened dissatisfaction. It's all well and good now under the current circumstances, because I can make changes, I can upgrade and downgrade now, whenever I want. There's no commitment at the moment. So dissatisfaction can be avoided now if I make a mistake and give the wrong license, but it can't be avoided in a commitment. So we're just trying to obviously find ways of avoiding that by working with our partners, using things like Smart SaaS to get a real good idea of how their customer looks.
I think it's an excellent product, but I think you are just an excellent guy, because you're actually taking the time to care about your partnerships. And I think it's incredible that you're in the profession you're in, because you're really helping a lot of these businesses really optimize their Microsoft 365 licenses. But at the same time, you're educating people in different ways to kind of inform them of the changes, and you're keeping up with the changes. And I think you're just doing an excellent job. But Jay, I want to thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. I'm going to end it here. And I hope to have you again in the future.
That's all right. Thank you very much, Madison. Glad to be here.